Finals practice before game 3. We got to hear from players today in Gainbridge Fieldhouse as the NBA Finals is in Indy ahead of one of the biggest games in Pacers history. You'll hear from lots of those players right now on a bonus Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday/Wednesday, and welcome into a bonus edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, from the finals, practice day 3, the first practice day in Indy of the series ahead of game 3 tomorrow. We got to hear from everybody, as you've heard on these days. Some guys come out to the podium. Some guys are at a bigger room with lots of people. It's chaotic and awesome, and I get to learn a lot from lots of different voices, all within about an hour and a half. And today the focus was on, to me, the biggest couple things going on right now. The bench battle, heavily tipping towards the Thunder. The points in the paint battle, the Pacers losing it dramatically on the offensive end. And, of course, Tyrese Haliburton and his injury status. I mean, that no need to bury the lead. You'll hear him say it in his own words in this episode. I went in there for that, but he said he's good. Lower leg injury, but he'll be good to go for game 3. We got to see him in the practice setting. The way this works is that it's the last 30 minutes of one team's practice and the first 30 of another. It's not a real practice. Like, they're just doing kind of generic drills. They're not going to show media or anybody anything about strategy or things like that. But Haliburton was running around as they did a ball movement style drill. Certainly looked fine to me. Very happy, very giddy. A little bit of tape on the right leg. That's about it. So I expect minimal, if any, restrictions for him and him to be playing in game 3. And that's that. But again, you'll hear that from him. But to me, the rest of the stuff that you'll hear and the way that the timing works out for this one and the way some of the media situations worked out is there was a lot more intimate settings today. So you'll hear me a lot ask more of the questions that make it in for this one. Someone else asked what I hoped to ask or what I thought was interesting for the last couple versions of this little bonus podcast feature, but a lot about the points in the paint stuff. And I found it very interesting to hear kind of the conflict the Pacers are dealing with be revealed in these answers subtly, right? I can't remember I think it's Chet Holmgren you'll hear say it in this, but one of the Thunder players, when I was talking about their paint defense, talked about how a key part of it is picking up early, right? And picking up high for the other team so that they can't flow right into something that gets them in the paint. If they are going to get there, they're going to have to work for it. It's going to be deeper in the clock. They're not going to have as much time to make decisions. So their decision also has to include, do they shoot now? It's a worse shot, blah, blah, blah. And some Pacers players you'll hear in this talked about part of the solution to getting in the paint more being pace, early offense, side-to-side movement, fast, right? And I mentioned Myles Turner, the fulcrum, after last game being something I thought was important for the Pacers to get more into the paint and have more success on offense. You saw that early in that third quarter when he was really hooping there for a second, some of the two-man games. In fact, as we'll hear in this episode, I asked Myles Turner about that very stretch of the game and how they kind of found success in that moment and what it could mean as they progress into the series. So as I'm doing all this background of what you're hearing, the early offense for the Pacers is what I really think the paint battle will come down to. Right, I tweeted at some point in the middle of game 2 that I thought and wondered if it would end up being their game in the playoffs that had the highest percentage of their shots come late in the shot clock. The best, Kyle Taylor, came through with a graph displaying that it was third worst. I think their worst game they lost, their second worst game they actually won against the Cavs, and then this was their third worst. And they do not have a good record in games where it takes longer. You're adding an extra defender, right? You're adding an extra barrier to your offensive success in that way. So I, of course, found that noteworthy, and you'll hear a lot of guys about that. A lot of guys about off-ball movement. And the other thing I got into, more so a little bit with Thomas Bryant, but more so with Thunder players, Aaron Wiggins you'll hear from in here, is about the bench, right? Two teams that are against traditional thinking when it comes to using their second unit in the series. Lots of 9, 10-man rotations, lots of deeper minutes for those guys in order to keep the starters fresh. And there's talent down those rosters that make those lineups work. But so far, it's been all Thunder off the bench, and I think the Pacers need more from their bench. So getting more philosophy stuff on how the bench clicks, how they think of the importance of bench minutes from Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins today, just to hear about that side of it. And, of course, again, Thomas Bryant on the Pacers side of it, because the Pacers bench just, quite frankly, needs to be better. Depth not being an advantage for the Pacers in the series has been significant. Their starters have played better albeit not great. So hear all that today. We'll hop right in with interviews, 4 Pacers players, 3 Thunder. You'll hear from them in just a second. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you guys about WayFair. There's nothing like stepping into your own outdoor space and feeling like you've escaped to a personal oasis. If you're waiting to update your patio this season, WayFair has made it so easy to turn it into a space that feels like yours. Comfortable, stylish, and ready for summer. WayFair has everything you need to level up your outdoor space: conversation sets, outdoor bars, fire pits, hot tubs, gazebos, and yes, even the perfect string lights to set the vibe. It's like you're giving your backyard that resort feel without the resort price tag. Many things you can get there. I just got new little cushions for my outdoor seats, but modern lounge chairs, outdoor dining sets that'll transform your patio. Whatever your style is, clean, modern, whatever, you can filter for what you want. Free and totally hassle-free, plus fast delivery. Whatever you're hosting friends or just chilling, unwinding with a book, you can make it your own private retreat. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with WayFair and enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. WayFair, every style, every home. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for tuning in. Locked On Thunder. Rylan Stiles is here in Indy 2. That's your other place to go. He'll have more ahead of Game 3. He'll have another podcast for me coming out later. I don't know the order of players today, but it'll be Pacer Thunder, and the 7 players: Tyrese Haliburton, Myles Turner, Ben Sheppard, Thomas Bryant, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, and Isaiah Joe. This is better consumed on YouTube. You can actually see them and their mouths moving, but the audio sounds good enough. It's going on the audio feed. Real Game 3 preview coming tomorrow. Let's get to it.
Keep going on that note, just how important is off-ball execution of these guys, and just to try to keep the swarming of the defense out of the paint?
Yeah, you got to mix things up. You can't give these guys the same dosage, the same look of anything. If you just try to run high pick and roll all game, they just crawl into you and really pack the paint and nothing's open. And so there's got to be a mix of things. Got to be off the ball, got to be playing off the pitch, got to be coming off ball screens, got to be you can't run the same thing consistently against these guys. You got to mix it up. So we got to do a much better job of that. I felt like I probably got caught in too many high pick and rolls, where they could really pack it in, and then we're getting shots late against the clock, especially in the first half of both games. So, we got to do a better job there, and that starts with me just getting us in better positions, playing out of different spots, all those things. So, definitely got to mix it up against these.
We saw you limping pretty good after game 2, and just a couple minutes ago, Rick confirmed that you were feeling some discomfort. Where are you feeling discomfort? What happened? And I assume you're good to go for game 3, but just if you could tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I'm fine. Really just a lower leg thing. I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything more to elaborate. I feel fine, and I'll be ready to go for game 3.
People typically think about the playoffs. They don't think about benches being important, but both you guys and the Pacers really do. Do you feel like that makes your second unit performances more important?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think first and foremost, both teams do a really good job of understanding that it takes multiple guys to, have a great season, especially in today's game. It's kind of changing, and so anybody can be impactful at any moment when they're putting a game, and both sides do a really good job of having their guys just be ready at all times.
When did you kind of get the sense when you got to OKC that Mark's thing was taking away the paint and the rim on the defensive end?
Day one. I mean, obviously you go through like training camp and things like that, and you get to pick up on what like the biggest focuses are, going into the season. We've always been a guard with all 5, build from the inside out type of defense.
What do you think makes you guys so good at it? I think 2 of the Pacers' the worst 3 points in the paint games this postseason have been these first 2 games.
The mentality that each and every guy plays with. We understand what they want, and so going out there and executing it's easy when you have guys that are committed to doing that, to playing the right way and building from the inside out, having each other's back, being in all the right positions.
Thomas, what's been so good about their paint defense, and what can you guys do better to get the shots that you like in that area?
Oh, they're good because they swarm. They have a really tight paint protection of the paint right there. The thing about us, we have to keep moving the basketball side to side, and make them work, and we have to screen. We have to screen their defense, make them give up some open lanes, and take advantage of them.
What do you need to do better or differently if they are doing all that stuff to generate offense the way you guys hope to?
Oh, we gotta play quicker. Gotta get up. We gotta get the ball up. Gotta get the ball up. Play in transition a little bit more. Get some stops on defenses first, and then that's what will help us in our transition offense right there.
How have you felt about the effectiveness of the bench units in these games so far?
Bench unit has been good. I feel like we have to have more production to help us out a little bit more. And we're going to get that covered. We talked about it. We ran through it. All of us in the second unit have talked about it as well, even with our first unit. And we're going to get that standpoint. And we're going to nip that in the bud and make sure it's well prepared for Game 3.
Chet, what do you think makes you guys so good at paint protection and rim protection in general as a team?
I'd say it's kind of our defense as a whole. It starts, with pressuring the ball before it crosses half court, stopping teams from scoring in transition so that we can set our defense, defeating actions, whether it's screens or slide outs or whatever, just kind of controlling them within those, and then it makes it harder to get to the paint in the first place. Post-up shell, fighting the catch, whatever it might be. It starts early, and then, making sure that we have each other's back at the rim if somebody does get beat.
How long into your conversations with Mark did it take you to realize that was his thing? His identity on defense was trying to keep teams away from the paint and the basket.
Yeah, I wouldn't say our whole identity is that, but at the end of the day, the best shot in basketball is done. It's the highest percentage, so it's like you want to make shots at the rim tough, and then you want to try and eliminate them as much as possible. You eliminate a lot of opportunities to foul as well when you keep players from getting down near the paint. It's a lot easier to guard without fouling the farther you get from the basket. And it's just about forcing the least efficient shots and trusting that over the course of the game that gives you the best chance to win. So he has different philosophies on how to get that done. It changes depending on who we're playing, what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, the goal is to force teams to do things that give us a chance to win.
You were talking to me about their connected five and how they wall off the paint before last game. 2 games in a row, you guys have been very low in points in the paint. Is there something you guys can do better? Do you have to attack it differently? How do you approach that kind of thing?
I think we need to be stronger with the ball, play faster, and find different ways to attack it. Whether that's screening away or just getting downhill, making 2 people guard the ball. There's a lot of ways, but we just got to figure it out.
Thomas mentioned pace too. Is that just keep it moving kind of thing? Why do you think that'll help you be more of yourself, for lack of a better term?
I think if we push it and play fast, it doesn't allow them to get set up on defense. So, just play faster. I feel like we've been walking the ball up and stuff like that. So.
Have you felt the defense be this effective walling off the paint before, or is it mostly just them and their talent that they have?
I think it's just them. I think they're the best in the league at taking away the pain and just flying around. So it's an impressive defense, and we just got to combat that and play confident.
Aaron, traditionally in the playoffs, teams don't turn to their bench as much as these 2 teams do. How much more important do you feel like that makes the second unit battles, and why do you feel like you guys have been successful in those minutes?
Yeah, it's obviously very important. Your bench unit can be, crucial in games. And our bench has been great all season. I think we have one of the deepest benches in the NBA. All of our guys are ready at any point in time. So it could be anybody's night off the bench. And obviously our starters, we know what those guys look like night in and night out. So, it's obviously important. Your bench pieces can change a game. So, can't go overlooked.
You allowed just 4 fast break points in Game 2. Just transition defense has been excellent for you guys all season long. Just what goes into having such an excellent transition defense?
It's most of the things. Just being aware of who their attackers are and being aware of who their main threats are. Getting back, trying to get off the paint as fast as possible, and then obviously securing rebounds. So a lot of stuff goes into it.
Myles, what clicked in that early third quarter stretch for you and working with Ty, and can you guys carry that in to have more paint pressure in the next games?
I think it's kind of back against the wall mentality. You got to have that type mentality from the beginning of the game, but it was good just to have a little bit of litmus test there. This time of the year, again, you don't want to look back a few years from now just regretting stuff. So it's just a matter of just make stuff happen.
You talked a little bit about the importance of screening and everything when it comes to just getting the ball in the paint. Just how critical is overall off the ball action to make sure you guys have some opportunities, just considering how well they swarm?
Just bring guys up, and again, you just said it, they swarm the ball so well and have multiple defenders on the ball. So just making our breaks.